A séance has been held in the great house at Collinwood. A séance which has suspended time and space and sent one woman on an uncertain and frightening journey into the past, back to the year 1795. As another day comes to a close, Victoria Winters finds herself closer to being convicted on a charge of witchcraft, for which the penalty is death by hanging.
Barnabas?
What is it, Ben? Is anything wrong?
It's Miss Winters. The word's out, her trial will be over on Monday, and she'll be convicted.
But why? You told me the trial was going well for her. You said that Trask was unable to sway the judges over to his side.
Aye, and that's the way it was. Until Miss Abigail died.
What does Abigail's death have to do with it?
Mr. Trask's been saying Miss Abigail was murdered by the witch. Mr. Barnabas, we both know she didn't have anything to do with it.
Yes, we both know that.
Somebody's got to do something. If they find her guilty, they'll hang her. Mr. Barnabas, she don't deserve to hang for something you did.
I never dreamed that Abigail's death would be blamed on Miss Winters. Ben, it isn't possible. What proof has Trask got that she killed Abigail?
When did that man ever need proof?
In a court of law, he does. What kind of evidence has he been using to convince the judges?
He used a snake, that's what he done.
What do you mean?
He got that Lieutenant Forbes to testify against her.
Nathan Forbes testified against Miss Winters?
Aye, and lied in his teeth.
But why would he lie?
I don't know. But every word he said was damaging to her.
You're right, Ben. Something must be done to help Miss Winters.
But what? You can't go into that courtroom and testify for her.
I know. But you can and you must.
Me? Mr. Barnabas.
You're the one and only person who can go into that courtroom and tell the whole truth.
What do you mean, the whole truth?
Only a complete revelation of the truth will save her. You must tell the court about Angelique, about how she practiced her witchcraft on my family.
Sorry, Mr. Barnabas, but I can't do it.
And what choice do you have? If you don't do it, well, then Miss Winters is going to hang.
I want to help the girl as much as you do, but I won't be able to.
Why not?
Angelique, she won't let me. She'll never let me tell the truth about her.
She cannot stop you from telling it.
She can. She's done it before. Once when I tried to warn you about her, and again when I tried to tell Miss Abigail. Both times I was struck mute. I wanted to speak out, but I couldn't. Besides, it ain't just Angelique I'm scared of. It's your father, too. I don't want him to send me back to prison, Mr. Barnabas.
Ben, if you go in there and tell the truth, my father will be grateful to you.
You've never been grateful to me for anything before.
He will be now, I promise you.
You make it sound like there wasn't anything to it, like I'd just go in there and speak my piece and everybody'd believe what I said. But it won't be that easy.
Why not?
Mr. Trask, you'll tell the court I'm a convict. Maybe then they won't believe a word I say.
Trask cannot prevent you from taking the stand. And once you're on the stand, Your story will convince everyone that Miss Winters is innocent.
I don't know. Seems to me there's too many things could go wrong.
Oh, Ben, you want to help her, don't you?
Of course I
Then
do.
you must put aside your fears and your doubts and be there when the court opens tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, Ben.
This court is now in session. Mr. Trask, you may resume the case for the prosecution.
Your Honor, may I first place a motion before the court?
What is it, Mr. Bradford?
I move that in light of Naomi Collins' testimony this morning, that the testimony of Nathan Forbes be stricken from the record.
I object,
Just
Your
a
Honor.
moment, Mr. Trask. Does the defense have grounds for such a request?
Nathan Forbes stated that Miss Winters pledged to kill Abigail Collins. This morning, Naomi Collins, perhaps the most respected woman in this community, testified that he was lying.
Mr. Bradford, it was Mrs. Collins' opinion that Lieutenant Forbes was lying. I'm afraid that does not constitute proof. The motion is denied.
But, Your Honor,
Mr. Bradford, the testimony of both witnesses will stand. You may be assured that the court will weigh them both impartially. Resume the case for the prosecution, Mr. Trask.
Your Honor, the prosecution rests its case.
Very well. Mr. Bradford, you may begin the case for the defense.
Your Honor, I am not fully prepared at this time.
You have no witnesses to call?
The fact is, sir, I've had a great deal of difficulty getting anyone to testify.
Ben.
Your Honor, may I have a moment of consultation before I present my case?
I object, Your Honor. The time for consultation is...
Whenever the court says it is. Objection overruled.
I hope you've changed your mind, Ben.
I wasn't going to come, but when I heard they were blaming you for Miss Abigail's death, I couldn't let them do it.
Thank you, Ben. I'm so grateful to you for coming here.
I got a lot to say. I hope they'll believe it all.
I'm sure they will. Your Honor, I call my first witness, Ben Stokes.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ben, you know the defendant, Miss Winters.
Aye?
After she was accused of witchcraft by Abigail Collins and this gentleman, she was forced to hide out from them for several days. During that time, you were one of the few people to protect her. That's correct, isn't it?
It is.
Why did you do that?
Because I knew she was innocent. She wasn't a witch then, she ain't one now.
Your Honor, I would point out to the court that this man has a prison record.
He is under oath, Mr. Trask. He is therefore as qualified to testify as any other witness. Continue, Mr. Bradford.
Mr. Stokes, will you tell the court how you know that Miss Winters is not a witch?
Because I know who the real witch was.
You mean the strange things that have been happening in Collinwood really have been the result of witchcraft?
Aye. She even put a spell on me. That's why I could never come forward before.
Your Honor, I submit that this man is still under the spell of a witch.
You will have ample opportunity to determine that when you cross-examine the witness. Continue, Mr. Bradford.
Mr. Stokes, will you tell the court the name of the real witch?
Mr. Stokes, speak up, please. Speak up.
It was Angelique Collins. She was the witch.
You actually witnessed Angelique performing acts of black magic.
Aye. She even forced me to help her.
Will you explain that?
She made me go into Mr. Jeremiah's room and get a lock of hair.
What for?
She made a potion of it. Then she put Mr. Jeremiah and Miss Josette under a spell.
How do you know what her reason was for putting them under a spell?
She wanted Miss Josette to be unfaithful to Mr. Barnabas.
Why?
Because she was in love with Mr. Barnabas and she wanted him for herself.
And in the end, she got him, didn't she?
Aye. She got him.
Your Honor, I call the court's attention to certain facts. Josette Dupre came to Collinwood to marry Barnabas Collins. But after she arrived, she suddenly, for no apparent reason, decided to run away and marry a man she hardly knew, Jeremiah Collins. It is clear now that she was acting under the spell of a witch. It is equally clear that Miss Winters had nothing to gain by these actions. But Angelique had everything to gain. And in the end, she got what she was after. She married Barnabas Collins. Your Honor, I've been looking all along for a reason behind the witchcraft which has occurred. Now that I've found it, I ask that the case against Victoria Winters be dismissed.
The court cannot entertain such a motion until the witness has been cross-examined. Have you finished your own examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Return, please, to your desk. Mr. Trask.
Mr. Stokes, you have testified that it was Angelique Collins who performed acts of witchcraft at Collinwood?
That's right.
If you are so certain of that, perhaps you can tell us where we can find Angelique Collins now.
I don't know what you mean.
What has happened to Angelique? Where is she?
I don't know.
You must know. You said you were under her spell.
I was, but
But what?
I ain't anymore.
Why not? How could you get out from under the spell of a witch?
Well, it must have happened after she...
After she what, Mr. Stokes?
After she went away.
You mean Angelique Collins is no longer in this community?
That's right.
Where did she go?
I don't know.
All right, then. When did she leave?
The day after Mr. Barnabas left for England.
You're quite certain of that?
Aye.
And how long ago did Barnabas Collins leave for England?
It was more than a month ago.
Your Honor, I submit that the testimony of this witness has been nothing but a series of lies.
I object to that.
Mr. Trask, would you kindly explain your statement to the court?
The witness first claims that Angelique Collins is the witch. He then tells us that Angelique left this community more than a month ago. But the fact is, Your Honor, that acts of witchcraft have continued. Indeed, they have been intensified since that time. 3 more members of the Collins family have died since then. The town of Collinsport has been subjected to a wave of violence and evil. These acts were committed by one who is still among us. They were committed by the defendant, Victoria Winters.
No! No, that ain't true. Miss Winters is innocent. It was Angelique. She was the one caused all the suffering. I seen her do it. I was there when she turned Joshua Collins into a cat. She was the one who stuck pins into Miss Sarah's doll and made the poor child sick and finally killed her. It wasn't Miss Winters, it was Angelique. can't be. Woman. That woman's dead!
Your Honor, the witness has obviously taken leave of his senses.
I tell you, she's dead. I seen her in a coffin. I buried her in the woods near the cemetery.
I move that this man's testimony be stricken from the record.
And I demand that he be given a chance to explain.
Explain what, Mr. Bradford? On the one hand, he tells us that Angelique Collins has left Collinsport. And when the lady makes an unexpected appearance in the court, he makes the ridiculous statement that she is dead.
She is dead, I swear it. She died in the mausoleum at Collinwood. I was there when it happened.
Silence! The motion is granted. The witness will leave the courtroom.
But, Your Honor, you must give him a...
Mr. Bradford, the witness will do as ordered.
Your Honor, before Mr. Bradford resumes his case, I have a request to make.
What is it?
In view of the incredible statements by the last witness, I ask that Angelique Collins be allowed to take the stand.
Does the defense have any objection?
Your Honor, I would like a moment with my client.
You may.
If you don't want her to take the stand, I can object.
Peter, it's true. She really is a witch. I'd never thought of it until now. But after hearing what Ben said, there were all sorts of things I didn't pay any attention to at the time that are beginning to make sense.
Look, if we don't let her take the stand, it may look bad for you.
Well, all right.
Your Honor, I have no objection.
Angelique Collins, approach the bench. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mrs. Collins?
I have only a few questions, Mrs. Collins. You know the defendant, Victoria Winters, do you not?
Yes, I do.
In fact, you were both servants of the Collins family in the old Collins mansion, isn't that right?
Yes, it is.
What was your opinion of Miss Winters at that time?
She always treated me with courtesy and kindness.
Did you ever notice any strange behavior on her part?
No.
Shortly after the Collins family moved into their new home, you married Barnabas Collins and moved into the old house with him, isn't that right?
Yes, it is.
Were you and Barnabas Collins the only persons living in that house?
Well, no.
Who else was there?
Miss Winters.
Why?
My husband did not believe that Miss Winters was a witch, and he was protecting her.
Didn't it frighten you living in the same house with a witch?
Objection!
Sustained.
Mrs. Collins, do you recall a day during that week when the Collins family called upon me to exorcise the evil spirits from the old house?
Yes, I do.
Would you please tell the court what happened that day?
Well, you came to our house, and you stated that, were there a witch in the house, the ritual you were about to perform would force her to come out. You began to perform this ritual.
And where were you at that time?
I was upstairs in the master bedroom.
And what did you hear from that room?
After a moment, suddenly I heard a scream, and someone was yelling fire.
Who was it?
It was Miss Winters. She kept screaming that there was a fire in her room.
During the rite of exorcism, who was the first and only person to be driven out of the house?
Victoria Winters.
After Miss Winters was driven from the house, did you go to examine her room?
Yes.
Did you discover any signs of fire in her room?
No. None at all.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Does the defense wish to cross-examine the witness?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
The witness may step down. The defense may proceed with its case. Call your next witness, Mr. Bradford.
Your Honor, I don't have a next witness.
Are you resting your case?
If it please the court, I would like more time to find additional witnesses.
Your Honor, I believe that both sides have had sufficient time to prepare and present their cases. If Mr. Bradford is not ready at this time, I don't think he ever will be.
Your opponent's point is well taken, Mr. Bradford.
Your Honor, please.
I will recess this court until 9 o'clock Monday morning. If you have not come up with additional witnesses by that time, I will call this court into session and we will declare a verdict. Until that time, this court is adjourned.